Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So Caitlin Clark has officially been rolled out, and that immediately became one of the biggest stories around the WNBA. The timing has fans asking plenty of questions, because this comes just days after all of the attention surrounding the game against the Phoenix Mercury and the contact involving Alyssa Thomas. Whether the two situations are connected or not hasn't been officially confirmed, but it's understandable why people are discussing them together. At the end of the day, the official injury report says Caitlin Clark is unavailable, and that's really all anyone knows for certain right now. There has been a lot of speculation about whether it's related to her back or simply the team being extra cautious. We also saw her using a massage gun during the previous game, so it's obvious she wasn't feeling 100% physically. Personally, I think the Indiana Fever are making the correct decision. If your franchise player isn't completely healthy, there is absolutely no reason to force her onto the court. This season is much bigger than one regular season game. If there is even the slightest concern about her health, you let her recover. The schedule also plays a huge role here. The Fever have a long break before their next stretch of games. Instead of rushing Caitlin Clark back immediately, they can give her valuable time to rest and recover before an important West Coast road trip. That road trip includes games against the Las Vegas Aces, and those matchups will be far more important over the course of the season. When you look at the schedule, it honestly makes perfect sense. She gets nearly 10 days to recover before facing one of the toughest teams in the league. If this really is just a minor issue, that extra rest could make all the difference. I honestly believe she'll be ready for the Aces game. I'd actually be surprised if she isn't. Everything points toward the Fever simply taking the cautious approach instead of risking a bigger injury later in the year. The reality is that the Fever should still expect to compete against the Los Angeles Sparks. If you're serious about making a playoff run, you have to be able to win games, even when your biggest star isn't available. That's simply part of every WNBA season. Another reason this story has become so controversial is because fans continue debating what happened in the previous game. Some people believe the contact involving Alyssa Thomas was simply basketball, while others believe the officials failed to protect Caitlin Clark throughout the night. Those opinions have created non-stop discussion across television, podcasts, and social media. That's also why so many people reacted to the wording describing the contact. Some fans thought phrases like fist to throat sounded much more dramatic than necessary, while others believed the description accurately reflected what happened during the play. Regardless of where you stand, the language itself became almost as big of a story as the actual game. There's also another important point. Caitlin Clark continued playing for a short time after the incident, before eventually leaving the floor. That's one reason people continue debating exactly when she started feeling discomfort and whether adrenaline allowed her to stay in the game longer than she otherwise would have. None of us know exactly what she's dealing with physically. That's information that only Caitlin Clark, the Fever medical staff, and the organization truly know. Everything else is speculation. What isn't speculation is that the Fever have every reason to protect their biggest star. Caitlin Clark is one of the faces of the league, and making sure she's fully healthy before returning should be the organization's top priority. At the same time, the conversation also puts additional pressure on the league. Whenever one of its biggest stars misses a nationally televised game, people naturally start asking questions about officiating, player safety, and consistency. Whether those topics are directly connected to this injury or not, they're now part of the conversation. The Fever also benefit from having this extended break in the schedule. If this had happened during a stretch where games were coming every other day, maybe the decision becomes much more difficult. But with extra recovery time available, sitting her out feels like the logical move. Looking ahead, all eyes will be on that upcoming matchup against the Las Vegas Aces. If Caitlin Clark returns healthy, this game against the Sparks will simply be remembered as the team taking a cautious approach. If she's still unavailable, then naturally there will be even more questions about the severity of the injury. But for now, though, I think patience is the right strategy. The season is long, the Fever have bigger goals ahead, and risking your franchise player for one game simply isn't worth it. Hopefully, Caitlin Clark gets the rest she needs, returns fully healthy, and the conversation shifts back to basketball instead of injuries and controversy. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, she's okay. She's going to be out on Saturday, but she's doing all right.
Do you have any indication right now of how long she will be out?
No indication. Obviously, it's a good time because we have all week next week, so we'll take this opportunity just to get her treatment, get her healthy, get her back on the floor, and see what happens. I mean, it's the same thing. Long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
Consider this precautionary. Like, is there any chance she could have played tomorrow? Was there pain? How would you describe the decision?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, again, we want her to be healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, all the things. And I think it's important to remember, again, when you've gone through injury and the traumatic aspect of injury, especially that she had last year, it's ups and downs. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and making sure that she's 100% ready to go is the most important thing. And her taking care of that is priority for us.
A couple things to wrap up the last game. Did you hear from the league after your comments about how it was officiating and things of that nature?
I didn't hear from the league. I'm sure Amber probably heard from you.
Did you get fined?
I have no idea yet.
Did you think the follow-up from them about the flagrant 3 suspension was a fair response to what happened?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is that we have to see it in real time. I mean, yes, I'm thankful that the league went back and used their ability to go back and to review it, but these are things that we can't miss in real time. We've got to be better. I think I'm pretty consistent in messaging that we need consistency in how not just how a game is officiated, but how players are officiated, and how Caitlin is officiated. And we need consistency in that, and we need to continue to hammer home that messaging. And I think that it's obviously one of the concerns of every coach in this league is consistency of officiating. And for us in particular, consistency for her. But I just, I'm disappointed that it wasn't recognized in real time. But I'm thankful that the league went back and did their due diligence.
The consistency's been a conversation for last year. Do you feel like any strides in officiating have been made, or there's still a problem?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I feel like there are strides because they're calling more stuff. Freedom of movement has been a big point of emphasis for us. I do think it's better. I just think, again, and look, consistency is subjective. Like, I recognize that I'm a coach of the Fever, so I'm going to be biased towards the Fever. So certainly I recognize that. But at the same time, we want play types to be called the same way. And that's the messaging that we're going to continue to send to the league and continue to harp on with the officials.
With Caitlin out against Portland last time, you started ties. Is that something you're planning to do again?
I think we're anticipating, starting Ty. We'll get opportunity to look at her today and in practice and go from there.
With Caitlin out, just how does everyone else need to adjust, step up?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody just needs to do a little bit more. Certainly you can't duplicate what Caitlin brings to the floor, and no one person is going to do that. So everybody just needs to give a little bit more, and we need to collectively elevate.
Lowe's been more productive the last couple of games, as you talked about before that, trying to find the way in her spot. Have you seen her get better at that, and what to you has made her a little more productive these last couple?
I think she's been more confident and more assured, and I don't say that just because she's making shots. It's her movement patterns. It's how she's getting out of screens. How she's attacking the glass. There's more urgency and I would say more conviction in what she's been able to do, and I think it's finding her way again. When you're playing with our big three, it's continuing to learn how to find your way in that. I feel like Mo's doing a better job of that. I feel like she's getting more comfortable in that, and I'm proud of her. It's tough. It's a tough adjustment for her, and she's continuing to put one foot in front of the other. The other thing that I'm really proud of her for is, regardless of her struggles, her voice is always heard. Her leadership, her communication is always there, and that's important. She's a vet in this league, and she understands.
Steph, having coached AT before, were you surprised by the incident?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I didn't see it in real time, and so when I went back to see it, I was surprised. I was more surprised that it wasn't seen by the officials in real time. I think the eye discipline, for lack of a better term, sometimes I feel like all the officials are watching the ball and nobody's watching the play. You have a player that's down on the ground, certainly some things are going to happen. So I was very disappointed that they didn't see that in real time.